Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another episode of Testing in Nutshell. This is Nilesh Kumar Singh and we are talking about Loadrunner tutorials. As a part of today's tutorial, we will be getting into something more interesting about VUGen and understanding that how you can actually record or interact with an application in order to capture the script which is required to perform the performance testing or load testing. Now, of course, that requires certain steps to be followed and definitely having a great grip on how exactly to capture those events as a part of your script would be crucial for any individual in order to prepare a script, or I can say that the base script which is required to do or conduct performance testing. So in today's tutorial, we'll be actually doing the same thing where we'll be recording a particular script, understanding the steps required to record a particular process, and at the same time doing a quick replay as well. So let's quickly have a look on the same. As a part of this tutorial, we'll be getting ahead with the virtual user generator and recording a script and understanding more about it in form of recording a script, recording settings, which are like what steps are required in order to record a script, and replaying a script for successful playback. In order to get started, the number one step which is required to be performed is actually to run or start the web server where your application is actually installed and has the load generator being applied to that. Now, as far as you have the load generator or load server up, you will be able to access the application. In case your load runner is or the load generator, which is your web server, is not up, then you will not be able to access the application or probably apply the load when we come to the controller. And in order to do the same job, all you need to have is access to the folder which we created in the previous tutorial, that is web tours, and go to the web server file and just double click to launch it. In order to get started, we will be just launching VUser generator to continue understanding that how we can actually record a script and replay that successfully. Now for that, there are some golden practices which you can actually follow. First of all, I'll be taking up a new script here altogether so that we start right from the scratch, and I'll be taking a single protocol here, that is web HTTP HTML, which my application web tours is built upon. So select this and click on create. Again, you can follow the practices. If you want to rename your script right now, you can do that, or you can actually include anything else beyond that as well. So once your script is loaded, you can actually you can have the interface loaded, and you can have this action C dot by default, and the solution explorer at the bottom. You can see all three actions are also there. Right now we will just record a simple script in the action itself and replay it. Later we will see that how to record our specific functions in different actions here and restrict the iterations of them. In order to record a script, you can actually access this from the toolbar, that is record, which has a shortcut of Ctrl+R, or you can also navigate to the record menu and click on record button. Once you click on this button, you will be first asked to select the action where you want to start recording with, or where exactly you want to record the data which you will be actually populating while interacting with the application. So right now we are keeping it only on action because I'm going to tell you that in the upcoming tutorials that how to record in different actions later. What kind of recording you want to perform? Is it going for a web browser, Windows application, remote application via Loadrunner proxy, or captured TFA, that is traffic file analysis? So right now we are just targeting the web browser based applications, and our application web tour is a web browser based. So we are keeping restricted to that. And this is our Microsoft Internet Explorer as the browser. You basically have any other browser which you can actually configure using the browse button here, and you can even configure your Mozilla Firefox, Opera, or any other browser which you might be looking at. And this is our URL, which you can actually make a note of it. This is the default address of the URL which you can actually access your application from. So this is common for any individual who is using web tours to practice. Otherwise, you can have your real-time applications like www.facebook.com or linkedin.com. So just make sure that you put entire URL which can be accessible. There is something called as how quick you want to start with the recording and capturing the events, that is immediately or in delayed mode. In short, right now I can say that if you want to capture the events right at the moment the application gets launched, you call it as immediately. But if you want to start somewhere in the middle of the process of the business, you can actually go with the in delayed mode. We'll be talking about this in our next tutorial, so don't worry about that. And this will be a working directory to have all your working details right there while the execution as well as the recording happens. All you need to do is now click on start recording. But before that, let me tell you another important thing here. Loadrunner is asking us all these details, that is going to be web browser, what browser, and what URL. That means VUGen records only on the application which is launched by the Loadrunner, that is VUGen. Okay, so if in case you have already opened this tab, make sure that you have closed it and then you run the instance of the recording. Because if in case there are already the application which is already open will not be used for recording purposes. And sometime Loadrunner may have duplicacy on the desktop, that we have two browsers with the same URL, so I cannot continue with the execution or recording and capturing. So make sure that your desktop is neat and clean before you can actually start the recording, and the Loadrunner will launch the application automatically as you're providing the details, so you don't really have to worry about launching the application. So click on start recording and you will have some internet access issues if you're disabling the internet right now, but believe me, without internet you can work. So click on yes and the Loadrunner will minimize and will launch the application for us. And here I'll be also giving you simultaneous overview of what exactly the application is all about. So here we have got the very first interface where we actually came to index.htm, which is actually the login page of web tours. And web tours is basically a dummy flight booking application where you don't have to provide any of your real information like your name or probably the user account details, or maybe your credit card or other details. You can just leave it empty and follow me. So there is a dummy account which is already inbuilt, that is the username is Jojo and the password is Bean, which can be called as Mr. Bean. I can just show you, this is what the password is, and this is a default account present in every web tours application which you install. Okay, so in case you want to create your own, you can actually use this option called as sign up now to set up your own account, but right now I'm just using the dummy one, which is the most convenient thing to continue with our tutorials. Click on login and it will take you to the welcome page. Click on flights, and do not forget on the right side there is a tracker which is actually capturing all my events what I'm performing. In fact, I dragged and dropped it here. It is also capturing that. Also, it has a lot of other options which we'll be exploring in our next or upcoming tutorials, and you can keep a track on this number of the events, which basically increases whenever I do something. So right now we are in find flight page, and we are booking a flight probably like Denver to Paris, and I just click on continue. You can see that tracker account has modified to 124, so it is capturing whatever you do. Click on continue to select a flight, and this is where you have the payment details. And I really don't want any one of you to mention anything here, as it is a dummy application. It won't prompt you for any of them as mandatory field. You just have to click on continue and click on sign off, because now your booking has been done and you just have to click on sign off to sign out. Alright, and then you can come here to the navigation pane and click on stop recording option. As soon as you stop recording, the code generation takes place, and synchronization for any kind of correlation parameters will be done, and finally your script will be displayed to you, which is well created. So right now the very first thing what will be displayed to you is a recording report, which is a new option in Loadrunner, which basically shows the statistics of what exactly happened during your recording session, like sent data, received data, request, connections, and date and time details and duration of that. And of course you can find a lot of details about the same thing, like what host you were or which domain you were working on and what kind of requests were sent and so on. So there are a lot of things which we will be actually exploring as we proceed ahead. But let's come to our action, and you can see a wonderful colorful code here where this is our login part. So these are basically the API functions which are going to do our job with the inputs and other data. So this is about launch of the application, this is about login, and you can basically make out from the names of the function. So index.htm is the login page, first page where you landed, and this is the entrance of the username and the password. Then you have a search flight button. Okay, clicking on that, and then entering the flight details. So now you observe that it is just not the information which you mention. If in case you are aware of other automation testing tools, recording option, it only captures what we perform. But when it comes to Loadrunner, it is basically API driven. That means even if you just interact with one component on that page, it captures all the values for that particular field on that particular page as an API function. Similarly, I have got another page where I selected the flight and then I entered the payment details and clicked on sign off button. Now just do a quick replay to see that if our script is working or not. So to do that, you can just have a play button right here in the toolbar, or you can also navigate to replay menu option and click on run. Now clicking on run will actually start the execution, and it will complete and show you that whether it was successful or not. Okay, so now I think it went well, and we have got a replay result that script passed, and also you can say here replay status passed, view the summary at this time and what's the total time taken. In fact, you want to see each and every step success steps or message, you can actually navigate to the bottom part, and we call it as output pane, alright, or called as output view tab, to see all the details of every single step, like line number 4, line number 15, line number 24. Every function success message will be displayed to you here, that we started doing this and it was successful, we started doing this and it was successful. So you can actually observe everything very detailed here. So all we need to have is, of course, the output pane here to see the details, and there are many other things which we'll be actually exploring as you see. So don't worry, you may have a lot of questions that what is this drop down here, what is this details here, what are these HR files, PDF files, and a lot many other things. We'll be actually trying to talk about some of them in our upcoming tutorials, so stay tuned for that. So that's all from this particular tutorial team, a short tutorial to understand recording and replay option in VUGen. We'll be customizing our scripts in the upcoming tutorials, so stay tuned for that. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video team, and happy learning.